Milo's Pro Rewards members. Go big during Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. Buy more and save more with up to 20% off job site essentials like primed finger joint boards when you spend $3,000 or more. Plus, get up to 25% off PVC DWV pipes when you spend $250 or more. Shop Pro Savings Days at Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid through 123. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Visit Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change.
Welcome to No Question About That. Today with the returning Daniel, back from his hollybobs. How's it going?
Charlotte. Yeah, all good, thank you. How are you?
Doing all right, surviving. We
What
all
did I
managed to
miss?
get a bug. What did you miss? Yeah, there's some football.
Oh my goodness me. Oh my
there
goodness
was some
me.
football. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all good.
I saw. So the only we had a party the night of the Newcastle game, and I'm sitting at this party like fighting for a stream on my phone, and then it gets to a point as the goals are going in, and you're just like, "What is this? And what is this?" And then we played. There was an adult game. There was a kids' party, adult party as well, and it was there was a game of musical chairs, and I nicked my wife's chair.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But then it got to the point where it was like me or the hostess of the party, and I felt like I could definitely have had that chair. Just for the record, but I did not. I did not have that chair.
I could have had a...
Yeah, exactly. It's like very
all
Arsenal,
right.
that. It's just, yeah. So I saw one of the Arsenal press pack wrote this article saying Arsenal's biggest enemy this season or something has been ill luck. I haven't seen every Arsenal game, but I've seen enough. I didn't watch the game against Newcastle thinking ill luck at all.
No, not at all. I mean, I did thoroughly enjoy Mikel Arteta losing it over one of the goals coming from a push. I mean, a push at a set piece.
I know, and what's funny, or would be funny if it wasn't Liverpool who stood to profit, is that what's going to happen is whoever wins the league this season, Liverpool, are going to win it with fewer points than Arsenal got in the last two seasons.
Yeah,
and
probably.
And what triggered it all was Arsenal kicking Rodri off the pitch, and they don't even get the benefit of it. Liverpool do. And if it wasn't Liverpool, it would be much funnier than it is, but
yeah,
we've got to find humour where we can in these straitened times.
All right, today we're going to go through a little bit of the news and what's happening. There's usual transfer rumours and bollocks like that, and then do a sort of state of the squad, take the state of the team halfway through the league and see where we might go from here.
Is this a state of the squad or the fucking state of the squad? Just unclear. Because that sounds like
exactly.
Every podcast, that one.
It really does, yeah. How can we make this interesting without bitching and moaning for the 21st time this season, or however many of these we've done? All right, so the news broke today. Amad Diallo signed a new 5.5-year contract. Good news, presuming he's not on like 500 grand a week or something like that. This is very good news, although in classic Wilderness years, Manchester United, he will now be absolutely shit for the rest of the season, guaranteed. But seriously, it's good. He's probably been United's best player this season, or one of them anyway. In the darkness of United being 14th in the league, this is a little bit of a bonus.
Oh, yeah. The 14th thing, I sort of don't find that bothersome in the 9th, 14th. Who gives a fuck?
What's
really?
the difference?
It's not. It would always be, when we're shit, it would always be about, can I see a route to us getting good? Like, obviously, like looking at the table and it's being there are a few more shit teams, I find it quite hard to get too agitated about that. Like, any more agitated than I am that we're shit, rather. So if we were, we're not on the cusp of good, so that's not annoying. Yeah, like being a bit less not dreadful is whatever, and it's more, can I see a route to us at some point in the not too distant future getting good?
Sure thing, although we've had a few of those over the years where we thought, Now we're just about to get good. I mean, I guess the one bright spot in terms of the league position is that it's very, very tight and a few wins on the bounce, and United will be right up there again, in theory, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I always, when Amorim arrived and he gives these great interviews and there's that scene from The Life of Brian, here's the Messiah, that one, and someone goes, I should know, I've followed a few, and that's how I felt about my little self.
Yeah, but very good. Yeah,
he does seem to have a good amalgam of stuff, and he's got these dickheads sussed right out as well, as evidenced by his interview after that Liverpool game. Because I mean, Ten Hag said it as well after a good result against Liverpool. But I actually think, and I wrote this today for something for tomorrow, that it's not exactly a lack of effort. I wasn't watching the Wolves game thinking these aren't trying. It's more a lack of application, lack of focus, lack of precision that leads to like the passes going astray or the men getting lost. I do think we might run less hard than other teams, but I also think we're less athletically gifted than other teams, which is a problem that needs resolving. But I feel like the main thing is that lack of focus, because we see it against Liverpool, and we know that these aren't dreadful players, most of them. They might not be good enough, but they have good performances in them. And the thing that stops them performing more often is not, I don't think that they're not trying. It's that they're not focusing their energies in the right places. They're not concentrating hard enough. They're not,
Yeah. Detail.
Elite sport is really difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult. Amorim mentioned details. He also mentioned that, he reacted to Bruno Fernandes saying he was upset after the Liverpool game that they couldn't produce that kind of performance every week. And so a few of the players and Amorim say all the right things. I mean, saying stuff is one thing, actually doing it is far more important, I suppose.
And difficult.
And talking to players that have been accused of not putting in the effort that you mentioned, Marcus Rashford, his entourage or brother appear to be hawking him around Europe at the moment. Milan, Juve, so on and so on and so on. It's going to be really difficult. He is on a large wage. As I mentioned on the pod before, I do not believe it is quite as large as often reported, but whatever it is, it's a
big
wages number. Yeah. Wages.
Can I tell you, actually, my biggest holiday insight was regarding the word hawk, a different usage. Do you think that the word hawk, when used by a posh person saying what I would call pulling a greenie, is actually onomatopoeia? And it comes from like this, like a hawk. And is that like that? Do you think that is where the word hawk came from?
You're going full hawk tour, are you?
Yeah, not too. I mean, for me, it's like a hot too, but I think that's probably where hawk comes from. Like, that's if you're doing it in a posh accent.
Maybe so. If you looked into the etymology, I mean, we're going all Susie Dent here, aren't we? I don't know where it comes from, but yes, he's certainly been hawked around Europe at the moment. I guess United will end up. I mean, I think I did my Substack a couple of weeks ago was on the exit scenarios, and the worst possible scenario for United is that we loan him out and subsidise his wages with maybe an obligation or an option to buy later on, where you basically lose a player while still paying him, and it looks very much like that is the only scenario if Amorim is very keen on getting Rashford out this winter. So,
but I think you missed out the next bit, which is you loan him with a option to buy or nothing, no option to buy. He's shit, lowers his value, and then is even harder to get rid of. It's harder to get rid of in the summer. So
I mean, it feels very much like I don't know how you feel about this, because there's been a lot of conjecture over the winter and the break about like what's happened with Rashford and why, and fueled by some commentary in the media from United inside the club and people close to them about him. It just feels like, was there not a better way? I mean, is he that disruptive that this was the route that United had to take? Or is it simply that Amorim is trying to make a statement here? He said it's not, but feels very much like it is.
I don't think it's him trying to make a statement. Like, you hear things and until I see them as fact. Like I've heard a couple of things about Rashford, about two separate issues that I know are for a fact big problems in the game. I don't know. I hadn't heard them with regard to him, so I'm not going to apply them to him, and I'm assuming it's not the case. But you do hear a lot of things about him, and I don't think it's because he's disruptive. I think it's because the manager doesn't think he needs him, and he needs money for a better player or a different player.
Then that's fine, because better players than Marcus Rashford have left United before, and the club moves on, and that's totally fine. The challenge I see there is when you're marketing a player, having him out of the team altogether, like fuels the speculation and the narrative that he is disruptive and it's really difficult and it lowers the price, right? That I guess that's the challenge right now.
There's a difference. And also, like, he might not be, I doubt he's disruptive. Like, I doubt he's giving the manager grief or anything like that. But is he giving everything that he's got? The manager's sort of been quite clear that in his opinion, he isn't. And as supporters, there have definitely been occasions on the pitch where you're thinking, a little bit more, a little bit more run in here would be nice,
and that's all fine. And the Athletic reported that he's quite defensive, right? So there have been situations where he's defensive in training. He feels like he's being got at, and he feels like the coverage of him is more negative than other players who do similar things. And I mean, that may well all be true.
It's not like, we need to imagine the paranoia of being an elite sportsman. That their newspapers writing about you, the people following you about, the supporters singing about you, they're shouting shit at you that you can hear. You're getting messages on social media that it's probably quite hard to avoid looking at sometimes. And then you know that at the end of the week, the team sheet's going to go up and you want to be in it and you're worried that you're not. Like, depending on what kind of person you are, all of that is stressful.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, like, I was saying to my wife once that I hated people writing shit underneath my work. Like, you can't go into a gallery or a film and write and scroll shit on the wall. And she's like, well, why do you care what these people say about you? You don't know them. And I was like, well, part of it is exactly that. Like, people who don't know you and you don't know them at all think you're an arsehole. That's quite weird. And then I wrote something about Moyes. I think I was the first person to write that Moyes should never have got the job, and several months later that I actually wanted to write it. But I guess it was considered quite controversial at the time because I think I wrote it, and then it was like, actually, we don't want you to say this now. And then it ended up getting published a few weeks later. And then my wife read a few of the comments under the piece, and she was like, okay, I understand. I don't like them saying that shit about you. And I'm like some random sports writer at a newspaper. I'm not someone with a massive profile like Marcus Rashford. I'm not a black male with all the coded language that comes with that, and all the trauma and all that can sometimes come with that. And so I totally get why, if that is the case about him, and I don't know that it is, I totally get why it would be the case.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that when you think about these things, you've got to be sympathetic to him in that aspect. And you've also got to realize, and we say this all the time, both of us, that whatever's gone on with him, look at who he was when he came through and look at the joy that he played with and look at him now. And the difference feels much more like post-Fergie Wilderness years than Marcus Rashford, because we saw who he was. His personality won't have changed that much. He was old enough to, like, he was who he was, but the shit at United has probably ground him down.
Indeed. All right, let's go through some of the sort of state of the squad. I thought we could just break it up into keepers, defence, midfield, attackers, and have a think about their contract situation and what United might be thinking about in terms of squad building and where we are. So keepers, Onana, Buendia, Heaton. Onana, it's really hard to think about Onana because in some sense there's been a lot of improvement. He, at least up until he started chucking balls in the net recently, statistically at least, he was like one of the, if not the best in Europe. I think only David De Gea had a post-shot expected goals against better number, right? And David De Gea is performing really well at Fiorentina, just to add to the narrative and all of that. But then, the two Olympicos that went over his head and the kind of weak goalkeeping and a couple of mistakes later in December, and you have a different assessment of him, right?
I'm afraid he's shit, Edward.
Oh,
I mean, I don't mean shit as in as shit as, say, Bane, dear, or whatever. I mean, the level that we need to be. I'll tell you, like, what I realised about him. He made a save the other day at Anfield. And I realised that whenever he does make a good save, I'm kind of surprised. I'm in my head, I'm saying, bollocks goal. And he's not terrible all the time. He's not terrible. What he was bought for, the main reason he was bought, that's the biggest disappointment, actually, almost more so than the tossing them in, is because we haven't seen almost any of the passing. And maybe that's also a facility of the donkeys that he plays with, I don't know. Or just the dreadful tactics he's had to deal with a lot of the time. But to be a proper good team, we're going to need a better keeper than that. Or we're going to need the full range of passing to come out like Ederson did. And for a while, you'll be able to mask your goalkeeping deficiencies, but it feels like it's caught up with him now. So, I mean, the goalkeeper that I like, unfortunately, has been cut by the Scousers. Mamardashvili, like he's a good goalkeeper. And I don't know who I would get. I'm sure there's 20 goalkeepers in the world that are better than him, though. That we could buy.
He's got another 3.5 years on his contract.
I'm not saying we're gonna.
No, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, of all the many, many, many priorities that United have at the moment, he will end up being down the list just because of the finances. Bayern Deer, we've barely seen. I'm really surprised he's still at the club. Really, he was an international and he's come to sit on the bench. It's a bit odd. And then Tom Heaton, his contract runs out in the summer. I didn't know this. I was looking through all the. I mean, this could be wrong, of course, because a lot of the contract stuff is wrong, but he's paid over 2 million quid a year just to do training, which is not bad work if you can get it, Daniel.
Yeah, not bad at all. Go on, Thomas. Yeah. Up the workers.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fight against the man, Sir Jim. All right. Defenders, Yoro Martinez, De Ligt, Maguire, Lindelof, Evans, Shaw, Malacia, Dalot, Mazraoui. Oh, dear. What a collection. So we've seen Yoro a couple of times recently, both starting and came on against Scousers, didn't he? One brilliant tackle where he ate up like 20 yards and took his man out in the penalty area, which I thought was the epitome of the best of Lenny Yoro. And I kind of feel like after De Ligt's 5 minutes of disaster class against the Scousers, that the right side of the back three should be Yoro's to take at some point because he's a better option there.
I mean, that's obviously the plan. They're being careful with him. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be him. The thing, like, I felt a bit bad for De Ligt. Like, you can't excuse the challenge. The penalty, I was just, how can that be a penalty, man? I mean, I know we can't still be talking about this on Thursday. But how can that be? That's not a penalty. His hand was there before the ball came in. It's it's not a penalty. But De Ligt was not the right buy because he just wasn't the right profile. He wasn't the right type of player. So even when we bought him, I remember we said the intangibles are going to have to be colossal because he's not the right kind of player. So he's going to have to be putting in Steve Bruce levels of compensation for physical shortcomings.
Sure.
And he hasn't. Yeah. He hasn't really done that.
No, and I think what we've got basically is Maguire light. I mean, is that unfair? I mean, he's like,
we haven't seen a good hangdog interview.
Yeah, no. I mean, talking to Maguire, they triggered the 1 year option, so he won't be leaving in the summer, and he's staying for a bit. And honestly, in a back three where he's the center of the back three, I don't hate him. Like, I think that is the best possible exploitation of Harry Maguire.
It is, but to me, he's sort of emblematic of a lot of what has aggravated me over the last bit of time, that he was someone who wasn't good enough when we bought him. It was obvious. We paid loads of money for him. And I think he's a Tory. No, to me, it's about pushing as many people that aren't good enough as possible out the door. As many people as possible that aren't good enough. Let me try that was very Arsene Wenger syntax there. As many players that aren't good enough, you can get them out the door. And I totally understand that we have a use for him this season. If there been an opportunity to get him out the door, I would have opened it for him.
Yeah.
And laid down my
coat.
I
mean, two benefits of signing him up to the extra year is, one, don't have to go buy another defender. So given that money is likely to be tight with United looking like they'll be out of Europe next season, and the other is it resets the PSR clock, right? So you don't have that from next season, from July the 1st onwards, there isn't the £15 million a year PSR charge or whatever, right? So it's useful from an accounting point of view. From a football point of view, yeah.
I guess whenever I see a United team, I don't want Maguire to be in it. I want us to have moved on from that. But he has been okay recently. He is okay, and I'm amused.
If he has a fight with a big chap, like against City with Haaland, fighting with a big lad, he's all right. I mean, yeah. So it's the little nippy guys that I worry about. Victor Lindelof, he's out of contract in the summer, and I mean, rumours suggest I wouldn't be unhappy to do a deal for him this winter. Like, he's definitely not going to stay beyond June. There's no way they sign him up to a new contract. When's the last time we saw him? I'm not even sure. Bit of a waste of space at this point. Johnny Evans also out of contract in the summer, and he'll leave. I mean, he's barely played this season, which I guess was the expectation from last season, but he played last season way more than anyone expected. Got any thoughts on either of those two?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I was actually just thinking that not Victor Lindelof would actually be better. There's not been much Victor going on with him. But yeah, Lindelof's going to go. I mean, he hasn't played in God knows how long. And Evans hasn't let us down at all. But I guess at some point he'll go somewhere else or he'll retire.
Yeah, I assume I'd be surprised they extend his contract again for another year. In the fullback roles, Luke Shaw, perennially injured, but has a contract for another 18 months or so. Tyrone Malacia has looked well off it on his return. I don't know whether that's a factor of the two knee injuries he had and the operations, or whether he's just not ready yet and hard to be ready without any football.
You say that, and I know he got hooked at half time, so I think he'd been booked, but I thought he defended Saka quite well against Arsenal one-on-one. But he probably is, like, he was a punt. He's 15 million quid. And wasn't he bought? One of the main reasons he was bought was because he defended Anthony well, playing for Feyenoord against Ajax. I think that was what happened. Yeah, I mean, you'd take money for him if someone would pay it, for sure.
Yeah, which is maybe unlikely. On the right-hand side, Dalot, Mazraoui. Dalot, a solid 6.5 in every department, in every game. He's like, yeah, done all right. He's not the solution to United's left wing back problem, right? And I guess we'll get on to whether they can do some business or the club looking to do some business this winter for a left wing back.
Yeah, if someone offered me decent money for Dalot, I'd take it. I'm sure that won't happen, and I'm sure he'll stay. The manager seems to quite like him because he can be average in a number of positions and a number of phases of play. He played well at Anfield. If he wants to play like that every week, goes into hate, but he won't. So him, like Shaw, yeah, you'd get rid of Shaw if you could. Obviously, we know he has a good top level, but basically hasn't played for what? God knows how long. A year now. It was Wolves, wasn't it? He played well at Wolves, which was just over a year ago now. It was barely played
he got injured he got injured in January or February last year. Made it back for the Euros, played a game and a half for England, got injured again in pre-season, came back, played a couple of games, got injured again. Who knows when he's back this time round? I guess we can't bank on him at all. Mazraoui.
I would say, though, what can I just say about Shaw? That people, I know you see people giving him shit for being fit for England. I can't, that's ludicrous. Like, yes, it so happened that he was ready for a tournament and he plays for a country that had a good chance of winning it. Of course, he did whatever he could to play. And anyone that thinks
it's very odd.
Doesn't understand humanity in any kind of way. It's just, ridiculous.
Well, and the fact is he got injured playing for United, or injured training for United, not for England. Again, Mazraoui, excellent purchase. Not really sure where his best position is. I don't think it's right wing back. He's not physical enough. So I'd much rather him be good cover in either of the wide back three roles, personally.
he's someone like he's good, a great squad player because he can play in a number of positions, and the chances are he won't let you down. I think when we get to Amorim has a first 11 that he's happy with, Mazraoui probably won't be in it. He's Phil Neville, I would say. He's a Deluca Phil Neville.
Very good Algerian.
Phil Neville. Get
Moroccan Phil Neville. Apologies.
He'll get a good number of games every season, but you won't be able to tell him where they'll be or what position they'll be. But the way that a football season works, he'll get enough football and enough big games as well to keep himself happy, and he'd be good to have around. I'm glad we got him.
Yeah, in recent games, it looks like the first 11 of Amorim's sort of solidifying, and he's in it, but as one of the wing backs, which in depending on the game state, to have ended up defending with a flat back 5, which I don't think is exactly where we were thinking we might go with this, but has been the case. Okay, midfield.
But it was also the case of Sporting, in fairness, that again, when they played better teams, they would defend with a back 5. And the idea isn't for us to always be there, to be at that stage. In the same way, it wasn't for Sporting domestically, but continentally, that was how it had to be. But I don't think we'll always be like this, but you have to find a way. Like, you can't keep losing games in the meantime.
For sure. Yeah. The interesting thing with Sporting is even when they defended with a back 5, say against City where they had 20-some% possession, they had attacking players in there so they get out. Midfield, Ugarte, Casemiro, Collier, who we haven't seen at all, Mainu Eriksson, Dangor, who we haven't seen at all, and Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount. I mean, real
almost
ragtag.
not seen.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, Ugarte, I think he's been coming into his own. He was excellent against Liverpool in those kinds of games where you need a rapper in midfield who's going to do the dirty work. He covers a lot of ground. He makes a lot of tackles, makes a lot of interceptions.
Helping you get results in games against better teams that's kind of him, isn't it? That's where he's most useful. It's in the games where you need to dominate. He's probably not expansive enough. And he's also probably not physical enough, I would say. But he's not a bad player. He's a good player. He's
a good player, and I think he's been growing. So, yeah.
Yes, but when Amorim has his first 11, do I want Ugarte to be in it? No. I want a better player.
Yeah. The interesting thing is who he's paired with, and in the last couple of games, it's been Mainu, or at least the back end of the Newcastle game, the Liverpool game. Mainu's felt like it's been a good sort of progression. A lot of talk about Mainu this week being potentially on the sale list if anyone made an offer. I think that's entirely just paper talk. He's got a contract for another 3 years. United are in no rush here. The interesting thing, if you look at the data on Mainu, more progressive, right? He's making more forward passes. I know it's a small sample size this season because of the injury and the fact they've eased him back into it, but he will need to be that. If he played alongside Ugarte, he doesn't really move the ball forward at all. Someone has to. So it'll be an interesting challenge to see whether he can do that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Liverpool was his best game since Cup final by quite a long way. And we were seeing that small space genius where you think, how on earth did he get out of that? And yeah, as you say, because he was always, him and Ugarte, they carry the ball forward, but that's not enough. It is the passing. They're quite a good partnership for the way Amorim likes to play, where you've got a guy who's more defensive and a guy who sort of augments your attack. Because remember, we've only got 3 attackers. So it's a combination of that midfield player and the wing back on one side who are sort of trying to help you attack with 5.
What do we think Casemiro? Well, best paid player at the club and another 18 months on the contract with an extra option for a year if United wanted to do it, which is never going to happen. Stories this week that Ronaldo is pressing his club to move for Casemiro, and I'm sure that if a fee of any nature came in for him, United would bite someone's hand off. I mean, immediately. It would leave United extremely thin in midfield if he went this winter.
You called him fat?
Yeah, well, dearie me.
I don't care. Like, we have to get people out the door. And in the end, the success or not of this season, we're not going to go down. The success or not of the season is going to come down to, and if we lose to Arsenal in particular, it's going to come down to what we do in Europe. We can win that Europa League. And Casemiro, it's unlikely that Casemiro is going to be that big a part of it if we do.
Yeah.
And what we're really trying to do is get to a position where we're good next season. And if money comes in for Casemiro now, you say thank you very, very much.
Well, yes, he has a 12 and something million pounds PSR charge plus his mega wages. So it's an extremely massive drain on United's budget, basically. And which, of course, is the accusation against Marcus Rashford as well. But it never picks him because he's just not physical enough.
It's so weird. His drop-off is so weird. And maybe if he played in a 2 with Ugarte and didn't have to move that much, I don't know. Or maybe if you moved him a bit further forward and he didn't have to move that much, but you have to move. But it's weird how it happened that he suddenly went from being being quite good to being an old man. But
I don't know. I think the signs were there at Real Madrid that the physical capabilities were dropping off. The data certainly showed it.
I agree. I agree. We didn't get him in his prime, but he wasn't a liability. He was a net positive until that second suspension. And it doesn't matter. You take money for him. You take money. I mean, you take money for Eriksen if you could. And
won't happen since he's out of contract in the summer. But yeah, I mean, talking about Eriksen, I mean, managers barely picked him. Either picked him in that one game with Casemiro against Newcastle, and it was so awful that surely that will never happen again.
I mean, that almost felt like, that was... He can't have thought that would be adequate in that game. Like one of the team who are in form, just also one of the most physical teams in the league.
It was absolutely shocking. I thought it was Amorim's worst selection choice, and strategically got it so wrong. It was almost like he didn't know anything about Newcastle. Or did it on purpose?
I thought it's almost like you're doing this on purpose for something. Because it's not conceivable that you think this can work, because it cannot.
Yeah, Eriksen will be in the bin in the summer. I mean, he's had that first season wasn't bad from him, but the physical drop off has been so sharp that it's very hard to pick him in the Premier League, especially alongside someone who's also physically declining. All right, I mean, we've got the youngsters, Collier declined, almost to nothing. Collier and Gore we haven't seen anything of them. With Dan Gore's injuries have been a problem. We saw him in a couple of pre-seasons, so no shock there. I guess I shouldn't really have him on this list of first-team players. Collier, I thought we might see something more of him because we saw him a lot in pre-season. He came on for that second half against Liverpool when Casemiro had his Gary Neville at West Brom moment, and we haven't seen him since. Bit of a surprise, really, because he was such a good player at youth level, and I think people thought he might progress. But he's 21 now, not getting any football.
From what I've seen of him, he wasn't someone who I thought looked likely to make it at United. I mean, maybe he still could, but it seems unlikely.
Seems unlikely. I don't think so. And then the last two. Bruno, who I thought was excellent against Liverpool, sort of in the half space towards the left-hand side, overloading on Trent Alexander-Arnold, as everyone does. It's the playbook, isn't it? If you can do it.
I don't understand him, Alexander. Like, I can see all the good things that he does, but there's no opponent that isn't going to be, we get him. And maybe they won't be able to because Liverpool will dominate them. But if you put any good winger one-on-one with him, or any fast, good player attacking space behind him, or anything, he's got a massive problem, and you can't get away with that. You can't get around it. I mean, you can get away with it. You can't get around it. It will always be a weak point in any team he's in. He will be the guy that they go after.
United exploited him with Fernandes and Dalot. It wasn't even quick wingers. It was just those two doubling up was enough. I mean, Fernandes, his numbers are still excellent. I think the question has always been, like, what does he look like in this system? So I think he's clever enough that he's made it work in the sort of left attacking midfield end and gets into those like empty spaces really well and has been able to use the ball. I don't like him when he's super, super wide. It was interesting against Liverpool that it did work just because there's all that space, but it has not always. And then Amorim tried him at number 8 a couple of times, obviously in the away game against Arsenal. He gave the ball away a couple of times in the defensive third, and you're like, not the space to try your glory pass or like Hollywood ball or anything like that.
I mean, if there's one thing that Newcastle and Liverpool game showed us, it's that United, as the internet says, United are indeed way better off without Bruno. I mean, him in a good team, it's just a shame we've never seen him in one. He's not perfect, but he's very, very good player. And he proves it over and over again. And he was consistent for a long time. If you look at the run, like when we came second twice under Ole, it's mainly him. And it's mainly him. And even though like Rashford played well as well, it's mainly, if you take Bruno out, Rashford wouldn't be playing that well. Whereas if you take Rashford out, Bruno would still have been just as good. He's a brilliant player with brilliant abilities, and people get much too cut up about the shit that he can't do. And really, when he's the best player in this team by such a long way, you just enjoy the stuff he can do. Because if you can't enjoy the stuff he can do, then you're not going to enjoy watching United play. And that is the point.
I know.
That's what we're meant to enjoy this shit. And if you end up hating Bruno Fernandes, you end up hating yourself.
Well, that appears to be the case with half of the bottom half of the internet, doesn't it? Yeah, more than 200 chances a season he's going to take that out of the team, a low-scoring team, and you barely create chances.
Just imagine the last few years without him. Imagine this period without him. If we signed another player who didn't work, imagine what it would, for the same money, who didn't work. We know that this is like not only possible, but what we were more likely to have done was to have spunk that money on someone shit. Imagine what this time would have looked like without that.
As bad as it could be, basically. Final midfielder, Mason Mount, who finally got a manager that will play a system that should, in theory, suit him, and he managed to get injured again. I actually feel sorry for the lad. He seemed a bit broken by that. But I don't know how you carry a player who's just perennially injured. It's a complete disaster of a transfer from that point of view alone, and we've barely seen a good game from him, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's a good player. He was the wrong player. He might be more of the right player now, but still, assuming that Bruno's in one of those slots, I much prefer someone like Ahmad than someone just who seems almost like a less good version of Bruno.
Yeah,
like he's not. Ahmad is more able to create stuff out of nothing, and that's what I want in that position. I want someone who can get me off my seat. And that's not even just to entertain me. It's because I think that's what a football team needs to be successful. Mm-hmm. You need players that can do the unexpected. And Ahmad is one of those, and Mason Mount is not. So if he were to stay fit, he'd be very handy to have around as a squad player. And someone who, I'm about to say if Bruno is injured, but obviously that's impossible. He's somehow immune from injury. But if you had the Champions League final and you didn't have Bruno available and you played Mason Mount, that's a good downgrade. That's a really, really good downgrade. Yeah, sure. So I don't mind having him about.
A bit optimistic there, Daniel. Champions League final. Yeah, good one. Yeah,
but if his Chelsea team got to it and won it though. They weren't any good really. But if it feels like it's more like at some point there'll be a desire to sign another player for that position though. So that could probably, if he were to get fit again, he might be struggling. But yeah, if he's fit, he's great to have around.
All right, forwards, Rashford, Garnacho, Diallo, Anthony, Højlund, Xerxes. I mean, Rashford we've spoken about. I guess they're going to have to do some kind of deal this winter. The weird thing about this is, how do United get better from doing a loan deal? They don't. I mean, I guess if he's not in the squad at all, they don't get worse.
If we get rid of him on loan, does that free up any money?
I mean, no, because you won't get a fee in. It'll free up whatever percentage of wages United get for this 6-month period.
And a loan fee.
And possibly a loan fee. But if you make the loan fee plus the wages equal his wage, you free up, let's call it £6 to £7 million, something like that. 6 to 7 might free a spot up for a loan.
Yeah.
Unless it's with an obligation and you can plan on that basis. I mean, the challenge is, of course, he's got 10 goals and assists this season. It's not very good. It was 13 last year, not very good, and 30 odd the year before. In order to get someone with that similar kind of record, like all the names you might mention, like it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. So it's a very hard path to see where United like miraculously improve straight away. More likelihood is that United get a younger attacker in and hope they benefit. I'm talking young attackers. Garnacho came on, played a little bit at left wing back against Liverpool and made a goal as well.
He did well. I think that I'd like there to be a future for him at United. Like if I was him and I wanted to stay at United and I don't know what he wants, I'd have been knocking on the door of the manager saying, coach me how to play left wing back or right wing back, because tell me what you want from that role, because I'm not sure that he's got what's necessary at this point to be one of the 10s. He might be able to get there, but he's someone you want in open spaces, and he's a really good sub. So he should be able to get enough football to keep him happy, probably. But he's someone that you might get a decent whack for, and if they got offered 50 million quid for him, they might have to take it.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, isn't it? Because he is one of the most saleable assets, being so young. Get him in a system that suits him, then there's a big fee there, possibly. And it's an interesting one whether, I guess it's up to Amorim. Does he believe that he can get the best out of Alejandro Garnacho? And what does that look like? Because you wouldn't put him in the team ahead of Bruno. He's not going to create enough. And on form at the moment, you don't put him in the team ahead of Diallo either. So he's coming off the bench.
But you need different options, and you don't want to play the same 11 players in every game. So he's another one. If he's prepared to do what the manager wants in the way that the manager wants it, he'd probably get enough games to keep him happy. But
yeah,
in the biggest games, he'd need someone to be injured or suspended. Probably
he's been reintegrated into the squad, hasn't he? So clearly, it was apparently that turning his back on the manager when he was being talked to, well, so the Athletic report is, against Pilsen, that caused the problem. Who knows? But he's back in the squad, came on against Liverpool, so I guess he's listening and he's coachable. You hope.
He should be.
Yeah.
And I think the thing about him is he wants to be a superstar.
Yeah. And you got to...
And I think he's prepared to put in the work to do that. Like he really wants it. He's got that mongrel mentality, I think.
Let's hope he has a good second half of the season. Diallo, we mentioned. Anthony, a lot of speculation about United trying to ship him out on loan. I assume they would do that because he's just barely played. I was surprised, I guess, that we didn't try the experiment of him like behind or in front of Diallo. It doesn't really matter in this system. Wing back, see what that looked like, because he's got the defensive qualities to do it, and he's got the, in theory, ball carrying qualities to do it, and the energy and the engine. He just doesn't have that any kind of quality in the final third to create or score anything at all.
Yeah. They'll get him gone if they can, but finding somewhere that he's prepared to go probably isn't that easy.
Yeah, it's obviously you can't trust any of the data on the internet when it comes to wages. I think Laurie Whitwell was saying the other day from The Athletic that he didn't think he was on relatively large wages, but he's likely to be sort of mid-ranked in the late 100s, early 200s a week. So it's a hell of a lot of money for anyone outside the Premier League. And given his experience in Premier League, there's not a single club in the Premier League that would take him. So a hard one to do. United have a big millstone there, basically. I love to Højlund and Zirkzee. Rasmus, who, like in theory, has got it, but just barely. He's averaging a shot per game. You just don't score many goals when you shoot once per game. So he has to be in the positions to do it. I don't know what that looks like. He naturally drifts to the left. It doesn't look like that's the right solution to me for him, for getting the right kind of space to score goals. So it's a very difficult one. He's certainly not justifying his fee right now.
No. Like the thing with him is that we see him do difficult things well. Like most of his goals are really good goals.
He's very efficient finisher, as they say.
Yeah. The problem that he has is partly one of service, but also you need to be sniffing shit out better. And That's might be a coaching issue, but it might not be also. So he's not played that much football. But I guess if you're ultimately saying, do we think that a version of this team that can challenge for the big pots, does it need a bet? Is he going to be at centre forward? The answer is probably no. The first choice centre forward. It feels closer to no than yes. But we can see there's something there.
Oh, for sure. They made this decision to bring in 2 young forwards in Xerxes and Højlund, and I just wonder whether that's the right balance, and maybe they would have been better with someone a bit more experienced. The problem is they would have had to probably shell out a bit more money in order to get someone good enough.
But then, I mean, we didn't. Yeah. Newcastle paid roughly the same for Isak.
A little bit more. Well, roughly the same as Højlund, yeah.
Yeah. No, Xerxes was cheap because he had that clause.
Yeah.
I mean, cheap relative to what a good striker costs. Not sure whether he's cheap for what he is. Hard to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you see another one. You see it sometimes see him do some good things. He did all right against Liverpool when he came on. And then when he had his moment, I think he was offside, he bottled it. I'm not saying it was necessarily even the wrong decision to pass to Maguire and allow him to spam it into the Anfield Road.
Well, but he bobbled the pass as well, so
it felt like a bottle to me when I saw it. It felt, a proper striker doesn't square it to a centre back there, or at least not a confident striker. We could also say that. Like I found like people getting after him on the pitch against Newcastle. Just
it was horrendous.
I don't get that shit.
No, and can you say for certain that the reaction he got against Newcastle when he came off didn't play into the fact that he didn't shoot from 8 yards? Like when one-on-one with the keeper.
Who wants to miss? Yeah. No, Harrods. You missed, dickhead. And I mean, maybe he just thought it would be funny. I don't know.
Just Xerxes, how long do you need to work out whether he's a good player or not? Because, I mean, as you say, in moments we've seen, he scored a few goals. He's got a nice touch sometimes. He has a very different profile in that he's sort of does everything quite slowly, but with something that feels like a bit of class. But is that what United need? Is that what Amorim needs?
Yeah. When I first saw him, I liked him. I was enjoyed the touches and the kind of the tempo almost how he played. That was just unusual. But it's just I don't know if he's quick enough to play in the Premier League, and maybe Serie A suits him better. But
yeah. I mean, I think that's totally fair, and it may well be you can already make that assessment. And if money was on the table for him, you'd do that deal. It feels very harsh. He's never going to get a run of
games. He's always going to be feeding off scraps, and he's never going to get a run of games. So it's hard to see. Even if he does turn out to be good enough, it's hard to see the sequence of events that gives him the opportunity to prove that he's good enough.
Well, I guess if Højlund got another injury, then he would get that run of games, probably.
Yeah, that's what it would take. So I guess, maybe it's not. That doesn't seem so outlandish after all.
And beyond that, I mean, that's the full first team squad. Like as you know, they all have a squad number. Beyond that, we've seen almost none of the youngsters, which has kind of been an interesting one. Like what if we had a couple of sub appearances from Ethan Wheatley? We've seen nothing of all the really talented under-18s, of which there are many, many. And maybe it's next season where we look and see, especially if United are out of Europe entirely, offload a bunch of other high-earning squad players that they don't need anymore, integrate some of the younger players. That may be for the second half of the season, but more likely next season.
I guess, we don't. The manager will assess how good he thinks they are. But one thing we know is that he doesn't think any of them are ready now because we haven't seen anything of them.
Yeah. I think that's fair. All right, second half of the season, what are we expecting? More of the same, or does the system start to bed in and we see more consistency in terms of results in the second half of the season, peaking in May in Bilbao when United lift the Europa League gloriously?
Yeah, I don't think it will get worse now. I think the biggest mistake Amorim has made is not settling on a first 11 almost immediately. If you're coming into an absolute shit show and you're trying to inculcate a new system that the players aren't used to playing, if you're changing 5 and 6 players every time and the players aren't good enough, it's going to look like this.
Yeah.
And I felt that he wasted any potential for a new manager bounce by changing the team the whole time, what he ought to have done. And I know he was worried that they're not fit enough to play his system and worried about the number of games. I would have said, like, let's deal with that afterwards. Change a couple of players every game so no one plays all of the games apart from Bruno, who's bionic. But this giving everyone a chance thing, and just changing team constantly is the reason I think it got as shit as it has been. And we all knew more or less, once we knew what his formation was, 3-4-3, kind of, and what it constitutes, which obviously the internet told us all within 20 seconds of him being appointed, and suddenly we're all experts and how it works. It was roughly knew what it was going to be, but it feels like it's taken him much longer to get to this 11 than the first 11 than it should have done. And yeah, I would have more said just get to that first 11 as soon as you can. Play it as often as you think you can in terms of the workload, and just worry about fatigue a little bit later. Once you've got it settled, then it's much easier to bring players in and out. But some of the lineups he's sent out have just been, you just look at them and think, how are you expecting these to get a result here? Whereas the first 11 you think could get a result anywhere, as we saw on Sunday. So I think now that it feels like that's sorted and the games are slowing down a little bit, especially if we get beat on Sunday, I would expect it to get better. And I think my guess would be that they'll find a way of getting the left wing back in, maybe. I guess the problem they have with a left wing back, with any other player, is if you have a player that you want and you can't get them until the summer, do you pay now for a player that you don't want as much to have for 6 months there? To have these, I guess you don't. So it's whether you think you can get a player that you're happy with in this window. But I'd expect us to get someone, like one player probably seems feasible. And if it's the right kind of player, that'll make a difference. But yeah, I wouldn't expect it to get worse from here, because it felt like, I know we've had full storms with these before, but the result against City, it felt like you might be able to kick on from here because you've got an uplifting result against your local rivals. But it felt like the way that the performance against Liverpool felt like for the first time you were seeing the benefits of the system. We were creating overloads all over the pitch rather than underloads and picking holes in the opponent. That was the first time it felt like the system was working in the way that it's meant to, rather than you win a game with fucking Everton and you've got better players than they do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. More of the same, as Bruno Fernandes said after that Liverpool game. Why can't we do it every week? And Leach said it's all in the mind. And
I mean, he's played out his arse this season, and I hoped after he played quite well against City that he'd start playing well again. And then he has a shocker against Newcastle, but played well again on Sunday. So yeah, let's hope that he is, because this team needs him playing well, I think.
For sure. Okay, on that, we'll leave it there. A quick review of the state of the nation, club, players, squad. Not awesome. Better to come, I think. I'd be really surprised if the second half of the season is not better than the first. Well, it'd be hard to be as bad, wouldn't it? All right, everyone. Thank you very much. You can find us on
I think we can do
it. Yeah. Patreon.com/NQAT pod if you want to get our backers show. Also on the Apple Podcasts subscriptions feed, on YouTube if you're not there already. Daniel, thank you. Good to have you back.
Oh, good to be back. Well, in a manner of speaking. Oh,
bye, everyone.
It's all right.